Good morning. Welcome to the November 1st City Planning Commission meeting. We are waiting for our quorum. He will be coming online in a second. But in advance and before we call the roll, the director will read the preamble.
All right, thanks everybody, and happy November. In compliance with notification requirements of Ohio's open meeting law and section 101.021 of the codified ordinances of Cleveland, Ohio, 1976, notice of this meeting has been publicly posted. All boards and commissions under the purview of the city planning department conducts its meetings according to Robert's Rules of Order. Actions during the meeting will be taken by voice vote. Refusals from any votes due to a conflict of interest should be stated for the record prior to the taking of any vote, in order to ensure that everyone participating in the meeting has the opportunity to be heard. We ask that you use the raise hand feature before asking a question or making a comment. The raise hand feature can be found in the participants panel on the desktop and mobile version and activated by clicking the hand icon. Please wait for the chair or facilitator to recognize you and be sure to select unmute and announce yourself. When finished speaking, please lower your hand by clicking on the raise hand icon again and mute your microphone. We will also be utilizing the chat feature to communicate with participants. The chat feature can be activated by clicking the chat button located on the bottom of the WebEx screen. Call-in users can unmute by using *6. All meeting activity is being recorded via the WebEx platform. These proceedings are also being live streamed via YouTube. All requests to speak on a particular matter submitted through proper channels have been considered. We've also received emails from those who have provided written comment on a particular matter. Proper channels for comments are listed below. Communication with members of this body must follow proper channels for consideration. Any comments received by the Wednesday 12 p.m. deadline are to be collected by city planning staff and disseminated to the commission members prior to the meeting. Proper channels for public comment include sending an email to city planning, the city planning address with a comment or a letter, calling in or leaving a message at 216-664-2210, sending a letter or dropping off comments at City Hall. A little bit more about our procedures for those who are newer to this process. So the Chair Curry, will call each agenda item, and then each applicant will be invited to proceed through their presentation. Each presentation should be completed prior to questions and comments from the Commission in order to facilitate a smooth presentation. Once the presentation has concluded, the Chair will ask planning staff to summarize Design Review Committee recommendations and any public comments received. The deadline for public comments is noon on the Wednesday prior to any regularly scheduled City Planning Commission meeting and will be read into the record. Any comments received by the deadline are distributed to Commission members prior to the meeting through Dropbox, and staff will identify any members of the public present and scheduled to speak. Public comment is allowed at the discretion of the Chair, and any individual providing public comment is permitted 2 minutes to speak to the agenda item for which they have an interest. The Chair will then request a recommendation from staff, if applicable. The Commission will then begin deliberations and project review. Any Commission member except the Chair may make a motion at any point after an agenda item has been called.
I think both members are on. I see Denise as well. So you can call the roll.
Anthony?
She's not.
She's not. Okay. Luker?
Present.
Curry?
Present.
McCray Scott?
She is on. Commission.
Is it Michael?
I think so. Go, keep going.
I don't think I see. Okay. All right. Sergeant?
Present.
Yes.
The comments.
Okay. Slide?
Present.
All right.
All right, we have a quorum. Thank you. First item is to approve the minutes from the October 18th meeting. I was not present, so someone needs to.
Madam Chair, I move to approve October 18, 2024 meeting minutes as presented. I'll second.
A motion and a second. Any comments? Call the roll.
Luker?
Yes.
Curry?
Staying.
Sergeant?
Road abstain. I don't know if that's sound issues.
Okay. Slide?
Yes.
All right, motion carried. I'm gonna read the rules for, we have 4 items that are actually zoning matter, which are a public hearing. So, just so I'll do it once, I won't need to do it for all of them, but just, you know, for anything that's a zoning map change, or we have some conditional uses, they will be a public hearing. So first we'll hear presentation from, about the proposed rezoning from staff. Second, we'll ask if there's any sponsor testimony, and this could be the council person, the owner of the property, et cetera. Then we will just ask clarifying questions, before we open it up to the public for comment. And we'll hear first from proponents, those in favor, and then we'll hear from opponents. At any time, anybody who just has a question can ask it as well. We ask that you state your name clearly. If you're online, just raise your hand on the raise hand feature and I'll call on you. And we'll ask that you keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. Then we'll close the public portion. We will deliberate and make comments and questions and a motion. So, and action. So for the first item is the zoning map change. This is 2687. It's changing the use area and height districts of parcels of land east of 105th Street between Churchill Avenue and Orville Avenue.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair. My name is Xavier Bay, zoning planner and city planning. So today I'm going to give you a presentation about map change 2687. The purpose of this proposal is to promote walkability and support diversity of housing typologies in alignment with our Connection Cleveland 2020 plan. And without this zoning change, this specific project wouldn't really be able to move forward. It's actually related to a project that you approved last hearing, Churchill and Orville. And so this is a snapshot of the existing zoning. Back in 2017, there was the map change to change the main corridor there, Superior and East 105 to local retail and adding the urban form overlay. This is really to help bolster and stabilize the community. And so we're moving forward with this map change just south of Superior between Churchill and Orville to fix some of the split zoning issues right there in that section where there's a mixed multifamily projects coming. And so this is the map change proposal. We're also establishing the 5-foot map specific setback to really allow these buildings to stand closer to the right of way, really to make a more positive pedestrian experience. And the setbacks on the street would be an average of setbacks within 100 feet of both directions. And so the calculation wouldn't really allow a walkable setting. So just a little bit about map setbacks. These can only be changed with legislation. They take precedence over all other setback regulations. They're required. They are the required space in the front yard where no building structures can be located, and except where specifically allowed by the zoning code. And so this is an aerial view. You can see it's kind of more context. It's just east of Cultural Gardens, north of. Sorry, lost my train of thought there. North of the Glenville Village. Yeah, the Glenville, thanks. Yep. So just to really show you some of the multi-family context, just right there on the site existing already. Some of the 2-family residential context around the area, and you can see the local the retail corridor. Here's some snapshots of just the existing context on the street where the zoning changes are happening. Top photo shows you just a little further east. This isn't incorporated in the zoning change. Just want to show you some of the residential context around it. The bottom photo you see looking northwestern. You see somewhere the 2-family context, some of the vacancy on the street. Picture on the top shows you the actual site where we're rezoning. Already has multifamily project there. And then that last hearing you saw the multifamily project that was just proposed for the area closer to the Churchill Avenue. Bottom photo just shows you eastern view if you're standing at East 105 looking down the street. And And so here, the top photo will show you an eastern view looking down Oroville Avenue. If you're standing at 105, you can see some of the vacancy that's still existing on East 105, as well as some of the potential coming forward. So here, the bottom photo shows you southwestern view, just somewhere in the residential context. Same here in the pictures on the top and bottom, you see some more what's actually happening on the street. Some multi-family context, you can see lots, two-family context. Adjacent to this site, there is, the area is multi-family, so you can see some of that context as well here in these photos. And that's about it. Presenting to you that change 2687 to consolidate some of the split zoning here, rezoning this area as multi-family G2 with a 5-foot specific setback.
And if I may say here, this is Director Huang. This was heard at the last planning commission meeting for the design review for a phase 2 affordable housing project for NRP. So the design very closely matches the phase 1 that is already in place. And the planning commission did determine at that time to proceed with the shorter setback rather than pushing it back to 14 feet, which would have followed the existing zoning. So this is the way to correct the setback in order to provide for that smaller setback and the more convinced walking neighborhood.
So it was on the 18th.
It was on the 18th.
I just looked.
That's all I had to present for this item.
Is there anybody who's here, who's part of the development team or no one representing? Is there anything you'd like to say? Or just state your name and.
So my name's Albert Zachteleben. I'm the vertical design manager with NRP. So yeah, just to reiterate, this is the second phase of what you're seeing there in the south. So the setback that we're looking for here will match that identically.
Okay, so we're gonna open it up for public comment. So either anyone here, anyone online, if you'd like to speak in favor of the zoning change. Anybody here to speak who's opposed or has a question? I see Drew's hand up, but we'll wait for that. Oh, you put it down. So, all right, we'll close the public portion. Commission members, any questions, comments from action?
I do have a question around NRP. I can't recall, I know it's amendments, but refresh my memory. If in fact you guys received a schematic or a final on that.
We got schematic approval, so we'll be back for final.
Because I know there
Yep.
were some issues with playgrounds and some
Yeah,
other.
yep.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure we saw it. See it again. Okay.
Madam Chair, I do have a few comments that I forgot to make. We do have support from Councilman Conwell. And mailings did go out 2 weeks prior to this hearing. I did actually just want to clarify too that BZA can't approve the front yard setbacks, so that's another reason this is coming forward to you today.
Thank you.
I will move approval, considering that we discussed this at length last night.
Second,
Motion on a second. Call the roll.
Okay, Fluker,
yes.
Curry,
Abstain.
Sergeant,
So yes.
and Slide.
Yes.
All right, motion carried. The next item is conditional use. It's a large state licensed residential facility. It's 12 resident group home. It's 765 150. Janet?
Good morning, Madam Chair, Shannon Leonard, Chief Zoning Administrator for the City of Wilmington School. So this is we had, you're starting to see more residential facilities coming. Essentially, anybody that's proposing a residential state licensed facility that is more than 6 residents is going to require conditional use from this commission. And so this is the proposal at 756 East 105. The current zoning here is local retail. This is the existing conditions of the building. They are requesting for a 12-person home for, I believe, all male and veterans. The applicant is online. And so I wanted to give you the context sheet. And so what you're seeing here on the right-hand side of your screen is really showing you that buffer. So part of your conditional requirement stipulations is it within 1,000 feet of another existing residential facility? And actually in this ward, there is a lot of residential facilities because of the institutions. But it is within 1,000 feet of one. But it's also within 1,000, it's right outside a buffer that has 3. So we just wanted to make that clear, but show you the context of the map. East 105 has varying uses on it, but it's also near the VA. So the existing zoning here, this one is a little bit different because we normally see these within our core residential districts. This one is on in a local retail business district along the main corridor of East 105, and you can see where you see the diagonal lines that it is within 1,000 feet of the one here on the left, close to Bourne Avenue by East 101st. And so the criteria that you're looking at today is that you could approve the state licensed residential facility for 6 to 16 people. They're proposing 12. If it is not located within 1,000 feet of another residential facility, then the architectural design and site layout of the home and location, nature and height of any walls are compatible with the adjoining land uses and the residential character of the neighborhood, and whether they meet all applicable parking, yard, and sign regulations. And so you'll see the existing conditions here. The applicant is proposing modifications and changes to this facility, but it is an existing structure, and so they do meet the front yard setback, but the side yard setbacks and things of that nature are essentially grandfathered in if this is turned into a residential use. That is what I have for this additional use proposal.
Is there anyone from the applicant or who is the applicant?
Kimberly, what was her last name?
Thomas.
Thomas.
She is online.
Is it an organization or an individual?
Good morning.
Hi. Kimberly, is there anything you'd like to say about the project? Are you part of an individual, nonprofit, or?
Yes, I run a nonprofit. As was stated, that I'm trying to operate a 12-bed meal facility for veterans.
What's the name of the nonprofit? I'm just trying to assess whether the Clinton Foundation has to be funded in it. What's the name
It's
of your?
Autonomy House.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Keep going.
Okay. As stated, this is on the right hand of the screen is the current state of the property. And if we go more into the slides, I had prepared a view of the inside. Go back one. Over one. Sorry. Can you go to the next slide, please?
Yep.
Oh, okay, so yes, we're in the retail district. The last use of this property was a beauty salon. We're looking to use this facility as a Class 2 group home. We're looking to be licensed by the state of Ohio and work closely with the Adams Board and Ohio AMAHAS to make sure we're within the guidelines of the state. The condition of the property is in poor standing due to the previous owner and neglect that it was left in. If we can go to the next slide, please. As you can see, the current location of the property sits right off the main street of 105. It is 3,400 square feet total. Our long-term vision for this property is to provide a safe atmosphere for residents in the community, providing them with medication assistance, social activities, community outreach, helping them be reintegrated into the community. Next slide, please. Again, here's the future plans of how we would like the facility to look in the future. Next slide, please. Here are some north, south, east, and western views of the property. The first picture shows the property from the north view, and the gate in the front that would be taken down. It would not be included into the new design. The second picture shows the property from the south, and on the right side of that picture shows residential property. We're right on the bumper of the retail because of the auto shop next to us, and I also am a owner of that auto body shop. The next picture, the third picture, is from the east angle, which is head on from 105th Street. We sit pretty far back from the sidewalk, and you can see the gate again. It will be removed from around the property. And then you can see the western view, which is the back view of the property. And lastly, the last picture with ample enough parking in the back of the property. We can go to the next slide, please. And here, I would just like to reiterate that the first floor, we can go to the next slide. Sorry. I have marked and demonstrated both exits. The front exit of the property facing 105, indicated by the red star. We also have a second exit coming off the side of the building, the side of the house, leading into the driveway. We intend on reconstructing the first floor and replacing the kitchen with 2 bedrooms on the first floor for 4 gentlemen, 2 beds per room. There will be 100 square feet of common space on the first level. Each room will be 164 square feet with additional personal space for personal belongings. We can go to the next slide. And the second floor will be 4 bedrooms, 2 beds per unit per room, 164 to 180 square feet per room. There will be additional space for personal use for each male. There will also be a third floor that's not accessible to any residents or tenants. The third floor will be only used for staff, where there will be an office, a partial bathroom, and a supply room. In total, there will be 410 square feet of common space that's required by the state. Also, we do have a parking garage for extra room, which is an additional 210 square feet
For parking lot.
for parking.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think
And
we don't need to see every floor plan. I'm gonna stop for a second. Is there any
Okay.
letter from the councilman or anything? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I have a letter of support. I'm sorry.
Keep going.
I have a letter of support from Mr. Conwell. I did meet with him and show him the plans, and he was very excited about the project and said that he was in agreement with this project. And I also listed my license. I am a state licensed nurse. I deal with veterans and mental health and substance abuse patients. I have been a nurse for 8 years, and so I am qualified to deal with these type of residents in the community.
Okay, thank you. We are going to open this up for public comment. First, I will ask either online or here, if anybody would like to speak in favor of this project. It's a conditional use. See anybody online or here? Is there anybody online or that like is opposed to this conditional use? We'll close the public portion. Commission members, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I know we're not here for the complete design, but I would highly recommend as this goes through the process that you consider some sort of outdoor space for folks to gather outside the house, because a 410 square feet, not a lot of space for 12 people. So if you had an alternative recreational or social areas, that would be great. That could be captured outside of it.
In retrospect to that statement, I'm sorry if I'm interrupting, but behind the garage, we have additional space, which will be a courtyard, which is shown in the architectural drawing.
Okay, thank you. All right. Anything special we need to do for this other than to approve the conditional
You
use?
approve the conditional use, they'll go to the Board of Zoning Appeals, but they are also in a design review district, so she could make it a condition that she goes back through the design review.
Have they been through?
Ariel Washington is online. Amber Planner, I could speak to that. I don't believe it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, they
they
will have to.
to get the conditional use before they went through that process.
They will, I'm sure.
Well, Madam Chair, I'll take a shot at, motion to approve the conditional use as presented with caveat that 1,000 square feet will be approved with that motion. And this is for 12 residential units. And in addition, that they work with planning.
12 residents, not residential units.
Okay, 12 residents. And that they continue to work with planning and the building department to work out the details of design and code.
Motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Call the roll.
Madam Chair, may I comment? May one of you provide a rationale for why this is a good location for, because we will be seeing more conditional uses, it'd be helpful if you provided
You
that.
really want to hear from me? Okay. No, seriously, I mean,
Good morning.
but seriously, I think this is good. I know seems to be a high proliferation of residential units in the area, but I think it's necessary to bring people back to the community where they mostly have grown and know. So that's a familiar thing, and not sort of ostracize that population and put them sort of remotely someplace, because that's part of the recovery process. So for that reason, I'm 100% behind the project.
All right, we have a motion and a second and an added description. We'll add some motion. And we call the roll.
Yeah, who was it that seconded the motion?
That was me.
It was the
Slide,
councilman.
okay. All right, yeah, all right, Fluger,
Yes.
Curry,
Yeah,
Sergeant,
Yes.
Slide,
Yes.
motion carries. We now have a zoning map change. This.
I get one more pedestrian retail overlay. Conditional use number 2.
Yes. Got it.
It's
Pedestrian overlay. It's an institutional use in a PRO. Project address is 7960 Lorraine Avenue. It's a new administrative office building and adult daycare facility. David,
I'm gonna go
all right,
ahead.
David.
Your name don't change.
I'm just gonna have to go through the rest of it.
Oh, you are, okay, we got it.
All right, so this is at 7960 Lorraine Avenue, local retail pedestrian retail overlay district. Proposal is to use this facility as adult daycare, but also the offices for the organization that is running the adult daycare. Here are just some context photos here on the southeastern side of Lorraine, as well as the northwestern view of Lorraine. Again, a few more views of Lorraine Avenue, where this is located and where this is going to be at. And so the purpose and the proposal is basically to adaptively reuse this space It's currently a vacant structure, as administrative office and adult daycare. As, oh no, sorry, it's delay. So they're going to need a couple conditional uses here. First and foremost, they have a driveway that goes over the public sidewalk, unless they get rid of it, through the design process. But essentially, you're just looking at the size, shape, or layout of the subject property does not permit placement within that first 40 feet, as well as the driveway of the sidewalk. The big issue here is for a non-retail office, as well as the adult daycare is considered an institutional use under 34323. And so the conditions of which the standards are for this is the subject building space was designed specifically for this type of use proposed, a non-retail office space. The denial of the application for conditional use would result in long-term vacancy of the subject property as demonstrated by the applicant, and the proposed use is needed in the immediate area, and maybe there's no other suitable alternative locations available. And so that's just that. They just need for the pedestrian retail overlay district, the driveway across the public sidewalk, because their site plan shows that there's still a driveway going over the sidewalk. Yeah. And then also the institutional non-retail use as a conditional use.
There's someone here to speak to this.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
State your name.
Tanya Cargill, I'm the CEO of Medicor. We're the company that purchased the property and will be conducting our services there. Administrative offices, we're moving from Puritas in West 150th area to the Lorraine area. The transportation as far as going into that driveway, same as really any other retail location, kind of one time in the morning, all of our staff come in, our folks get dropped off, and then one time in the afternoon, everyone goes home. We don't do a lot of back and forth throughout the day. Everyone kind of stays in the area. We actually want our folks to be out and about walking on the sidewalks, going into the community, going into the shops. So we don't have tons of traffic that will kind of hinder the folks that are walking past our building. That's really it. Our folks are special needs. They're adults with special needs. Some are ambulatory, some are in power wheelchairs. They're dropped off by wheelchair accessible vehicles, little high top board vehicles. They come in, drop them off, and leave between 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Same thing, 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. They all get picked up and they're on their way home.
Thank you. Is there anyone online or here who'd like to speak in favor of this? I assume the councilman is, or councilwoman.
I don't believe we are from the council person.
Is it Councilwoman Spencer or is it McCormick?
It's 79th of Lorraine.
That was
Spencer.
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 Not the department.
Is there anybody who is opposed to this conditional use? All right, we'll close the public portion. I do have a question though. Are you making significant improvements to the property?
Interior and exterior. We want to kind of upgrade the curb appeal outside. We plan on fixing the brick, painting the building on the outside, possibly improving the fence condition.
That was where I was going.
Yeah.
Has this been a design review district? Because I think the idea of like the link to the conditional use and kind of getting rid of the chain link fence, which also seems to have barbed wire, which is really not for pedestrian retail overlay is, really a big problem. So
Sure.
I feel like a tie to this ought to be the replacement of the chain link fence, in ordinate condition of this, because it is a PRO and you do want pedestrians, and just sends a really not a great message to have barbed wire.
So this property is not in a design review district, it's right outside it, so you could add as a condition to the conditional use that they go through design review, because I feel like there's a couple things that could be addressed here. For walkability along the range.
Isn't this part of the new design review district that's being proposed?
Oh, well, that's still
What is
going
that?
through,
That's in kind of-
it's not finished through the legislative.
Would you be open to going through design review? I mean, they'll be reasonable, hopefully. I think the spirit, I'm sorry, I don't mean to attack that term. I think the spirit is of what you're trying to do is wholeheartedly part of the idea of why you're locating here. And so I think the idea of the curb appeal, but also thinking about the fencing. So as a condition of just going through the local design review, I think would make a lot of sense, but, so one of my commission members might add that. Anybody?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the design as presented with the applicant going through design review. Approval.
Also, you have to add, pedestrian retail overlay,
The
driveway.
Well, that's the question too, for the driveway across the
Right.
public sidewalk. I'm assuming they need that 2 driveways for drop off. So,
Right.
okay.
To that, I think that should be.
You should include it in your motion.
With-
Okay.
Yeah, you would have
With the
to-
approval of the conditional use for the pedestrian overlay with the driveway. Sidewalk
And the institutional.
and institutional. And institutional and non-retail office uses.
Could, and, yeah, let's go ahead. We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second,
Motion and a second, call the roll.
Fluker,
yes.
Curry,
Yes.
Sergeant,
Yes.
Slide,
Yes.
I would suggest, because staff is really good here, is actually coming back with your design to the staff first, and maybe even before you go to design review. I mean, it's not a complicated project, but they'll help you through the process. And so
With the more of the
customer
parking
service.
fence
Yeah, just
area.
the parking and fencing and maybe how you're gonna paint the building, you know, that they see. They'll just help you through the process so you don't get stuck going back and forth between design review. All right, thank you. And thanks for the investment in the city. I think it's a great site for this, so thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, we have one more. It's a conditional use. Townhouse in a 2F district, Jefferson Hill Townhome. This is at West Fifth and Jefferson Avenue. This is a townhouse in a split zone, block with both, 2 zoning. I assume I'm consolidating.
Are they
Are we
consolidating?
consolidating the zoning?
We are not consolidating the zoning, but they need the conditional use because it is split zone.
Okay.
So this was a project that came before you a couple weeks ago, you may remember, and they had quite a few of concerns and issues. But again, this is along the towpath. It is semi-industry, but because they're adding that additional lot along West Fifth, it now becomes a split zone issue, which makes it, when we have split zoning, we look at the most restrictive, which is 2-family. So townhouses and 2-family districts require conditional use from this commission. We did put a public notice out 10 days ago on both sides along West Fifth and Jefferson on the property. So again, this is the proposal that they're proposing. They are meeting the townhouse regulations except for height, and that's because of the large retaining wall. So this is the proposal. You're looking at, again, for this conditional use is whether the development is visually compatible with nearby properties in scale, height, setbacks, orientation to the existing streets, roof lines, architectural character, materials, color, and proportions of architectural features. And so the proposal here is you're looking along Jefferson Avenue and West Fifth Street, going to the north. That's the property that were townhomes that were built across the street and kind of north to the diagonal. And then Jefferson Avenue and West Fifth Street, that's their southern view. This is the proposal that they're proposing here of these units. And so the other thing that you're looking at is it visually compatible with the nearby property. So you can see here the nature of the properties. There is a newer property across the street, but most of them are your typical Cleveland streets in this neighborhood. And then the other is the development site layout arranged so as to create visual interest, promote security, safety. We want to promote safe, efficient, and comfortable pedestrian and vehicle circulation, especially here along the towpath, and knowing that there's going to be a lot of pedestrian traffic, as well as conserve the natural features and provide a usable common and private open space. So the applicant is here so they can, or online, and so they'll be able to walk you through the changes that they've made since this last conversation. They have reduced the retaining wall from, I believe, before it was like 20+ feet, and now it's to 16 feet. And they've softened up how that retaining wall interacts with the street. They did add a door to that A1 unit at the top at the corner of Jefferson and the towpath. It's not as prominent of an entrance, as would be preferred along this frontage, but, it does meet the code, in that regard. So, with that.
Well, here's what I'm gonna do, because I know they're here. It's also the next case,
It
it's
is.
design review. So I'm gonna combine these just to speed things up and ask that the applicant actually present the design. And we're gonna go back and do two motions. I'll do public comment after they present. And so I'm gonna need to swear you in since it's also a design review case. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth as you shall answer to the penalty of perjury? So just kind of go through the slides that you would have for design review. I'd also like to hear the comment. We had a ton of comments when this came before. I know you've addressed some of them, but how you addressed them. And then I see that it was approved at local, but to know if there were any conditions of that as well.
Yeah, we like such a first.
Yeah, it'd be nice to hear what they were.
They just want binary, foliage, grow in planter boxes, retaining wall.
That was it.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Jeff Foster, Pato Architects.
Here now in East Valley, Walter.
This is a project that you saw several weeks ago, and since that time, we have been to 2 block clubs in the neighborhood. So we've taken comments from them, heard a litany of comments, but most of them were pretty poignant to some few specific items. Those ranged in the landscaping. Height and scale was a big one. Height and scale in terms of the buildings, height and scale of the retaining wall, which I know was one item that we discussed here with this group prior. So we have taken those comments back, and we've made quite a few changes to the design to address that. We think that the changes that we've made to those specific comments also address some of the walkability, from the connectivity to Jefferson, knowing that this is going to be, as this area gets developed even more active with pedestrians going to and from. So from site plan perspective, a couple changes that you would have seen from last time. Orientation on this plan, the Jefferson runs kind of left to right on the plan. West Fifth is on the left. So to give you your bearings, the vehicular entrance and the primary entrances to these units, there are 14 total units, are from West Fifth. So you come between 2 existing single-family homes. We're removing one non-historic house to create this access point. And that access is our upper portion of the site where we have 2 buildings. We call them buildings 2 and 3, and a small single building 4. And then we have a lower portion of the site, which is fronting onto the towpath, and that enters off of Jefferson. So one change that we did make in the site plan was the orientation along our retaining wall. I don't know if there's a pointer on here or not, but right under the word Jefferson Avenue, we moved the staircase that goes up and down the retaining wall. We moved it closer to the neighborhood. What we found was that gave us just a better engagement and visually sort of reduced the scale and size of that. There's a few other minor changes in the site plan with landscaping as a result of some of the comments we got from the neighborhood. The entrance off of West Fifth, we took out one of our visitor parking spaces so we could have some landscape right up along that existing single-family home. And you'll see some hatching in there where we're doing actually some structured lawn paving as opposed to solid paving in those areas just to soften it when there are no vehicles. Here's our landscape plan. Unit plans, as Shannon had mentioned, the unit that faces at the front of the corner of Jefferson and the towpath, we did reorient that entrance so that it has a portion that's in the lower right-hand corner there, has a porch and an entrance that faces onto Jefferson, so folks have that direct engagement onto Jefferson. Other unit plans, we have 3 different unit types. Elevations with a lighting plan as well. So lighting, we are lighting the site entirely from some wall-mounted units, wall-mounted low-profile sconces on the building. Those are represented by the red dots. We have a cut sheet included in our submission as well for that. And then the heights of the units with the different elevations. I'll go to the more interesting pictures, which are obviously the renderings. Let's tell the whole story here.
There's a bit of a delay. I can
I see that.
get that for you.
Actually, there's no renderings.
They were actually at the beginning.
They didn't begin.
I think we got some here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back.
These are sort, go back one more if you would. There you go. They always start with these on the left-hand side. one of the comments was, and it's something we have been studying along, is what is that experience as you're coming down Jefferson? Topographically, I want to make a comparison to the site that's across the street. Because those units were built up some years ago. Even though we share the same frontage with them, they are really two different sites topographically. That site has a lot more gentle slope to it. Our site is more of a plateau that drops off as you get closer to the towpath. So we looked very close really early on about trying to front these units directly onto Jefferson, and it just wouldn't work. So then we took the approach of looking at tiering the site into two different tiers, upper tier and lower tier. So with that cable retaining wall, which when you saw it last time, as Shannon mentioned, it was 24 feet high. Through some grading through the site and some adjustments, we were able to bring that down 8 feet to a 16-foot high retaining wall. So you can see that in the lower left-hand corner, what that view looks like looking up Jefferson. But the other series of 4 photos above takes you in that sequence down Jefferson. So the first building that you see, which is pretty brutal, that's the existing building. It's actually not part of our site. So that won't be impacted at all. But as you approach our site, then we've been able to tier our wall down slightly. And you can see how bringing that pedestrian staircase closer to West Fifth brings down the scale of it, makes it more inviting. And then we have a couple of different planter boxes within our retaining wall to soften it. Additional views, the top view then to address the concern of scale. This is the view from West Fifth. So in terms of character and design, the units that we have designed really do fit in with really all the more modern units that are being built throughout the neighborhood. And what's important to note is that this is the only view that you really see the two in context with each other, is this view looking down the driveway from Fifth. So you see the two residences, and we specifically turned what we have for building 4, the entrance to that faces towards Fifth so that it engages with a more active use towards Fifth. Then as you come down Jefferson, you can see the stepping that we've created in that retaining wall to really strike a nice balance between making the site feasible and also having landscaping and a more engaging approach as you walk down Jefferson. The view that's in the lower left then addresses that pedestrian vehicular conflict or interaction, we'll call it. So we skewed back the corner of that retaining wall as well, so that as the vehicle comes up to that intersection, they have a full view without even coming into the crosswalk or into the sidewalk lane. And then folks can very clearly see as they're coming up or down the hill. And if you're in a vehicle, see both ways. And yeah, sorry, the top rendering there where that silver Prius is, that's actually a landscape bed now too. So it softens up that.
And all of that parking area is also used a grass structured lawn structure.
This is gonna be odd, but I'm gonna see if there's any public comment, then we're gonna ask our question. Is there any one on the zoning matter would like to speak to this, who's in favor of the I believe it was a conditional use? I don't see anyone. Is there anyone who's opposed to the conditional use?
Madam Chair, for the record, I will note that that we did receive a comment from Mike Kosky, who is a resident of the area who felt some concern. And he has a comment here if you'd like to see it. What would general thoughts, concern about scope and scale to the surrounding area. He is supportive of development, understands it's a challenging site, but that the retaining walls feel out of scope to him. Concerns about safety and security, line of sight, the 15-foot tall arborvitae, just getting through safety rounds and fencing. Concerns about landscaping, the HOA, and alternative design, proposing alternative design idea. Do you want to dig into the comment?
State your name.
My name is Brett Siegler. I'm a resident of West Fifth, so I'm nearby the property. I had also provided written comments. I provided a letter that basically summarized the area.
You're gonna have to come.
Can you speak up? I can't hear you.
Come closer, please.
I had provided written commentary that I provided to the commission. I don't know if all of you have
Did
received.
you send it to city planning? I couldn't know how to.
So happy to research the area as needed. I'll bring up 2 of those concerns here. One has been the size and the scale. I think that the proposal that is in line with the existing structure, the neighborhood and myself have not felt that that's in line with it at all. The retaining structure and elevating the property instead of doing it at grade, whereas the property immediately adjacent has successfully elevated it back in spring. Those have a greater impact on the residents on West Fifth because all of those properties, you can see, oversee, and overlook all the adjacent parts, so that's not depicted here. The other concern that I would say is the waste management and snow removal. Because of the keyhole access, there's going to be a need to basically bring 9 recycling bins, 9 garbage cans to the front. There's going to be very constrained space, especially with the change in terms of the landscaping where those cars are there. And that's going to get worse when there's bulk days. It's going to get worse when there's snow. And there is, tree lawn anymore. So all that stuff is going to be pushed closer to the street, closer to the pedestrian access space. So those are the primary things. There's additional parts, but those have been the ones that raised so much.
Was this your letter, though?
No, that one is not.
That was not here. Thank you. All right, we're gonna close the public portion. I don't see anyone else online. And ask the commission for, any questions, comments.
Just to see my pet peeve. I don't know why we're so stingy with space and renderings. I don't know why each one of these renderings can't be full screen. Because it's really, although I've seen it, just a second, I've seen it, but it's all about telling the story. Trying to convince us, or convince everyone in this room that this should move forward. And I think some of these renderings they're hard to read. Because they're just like these little vignette sketches. I mean, this is not 1985 when we would do stuff on boards. We have computers, so that's for everyone. This is not just, I see this in lots of presentations, so I just wanted to provide you with that insight, because it's hard to really, for me, to assess how you're addressing this when I'm looking at something that beside of a postage stamp. Thank you.
So I need to clarify, we need a motion, separate motion. And we'll need to act first on the conditional use. And then second on the design review.
Just wanted to go back to the conditional use condition.
Go to the slide.
Yeah.
See the condition.
And it says the main condition is that you're looking at the layout arranged so as to create a visual interest, promote security and safety, promote safe, efficient, and comfortable pedestrian and vehicle circulation, conserve natural features and provide usable, common, and private open space. And then you can go to the slide before. You're also making sure that the development is visually compatible with nearby properties in the scale, height, setbacks, orientation to existing streets, architectural character, materials, colors, and proportions of architectural view. And so obviously it blends a little bit with the design review comments and why we require them to come for the conditional use schematic for us to be able to adjudicate a full review. We need, them to pretty much have a schematic package, if you will.
Is there a letter from the council?
I have not received.
He hasn't submitted one, but he said it's supportive. We've been talking with him and Brittany since last September about this, and he's expressed support and understands the challenges of deciding why we have done this direction. So there was no additional comments from the designer besides the.
I'm going to turn it over to Brittany. She's the planner for the neighborhood.
Hello, my name is Brittany Pavon, your Westside City Planner. So this has come through full cycle design review. Each time design review has been given, comments have been forwarded, and the applicants, I do give them kudos on altering the facade every time we've given them comments, as well as the preliminary review we did with zoning. If we go back to the slide forward, that top, I understand what you're saying, but that top corner in the left, that's an existing building that is already very monolithic. It does not have any type of connection to the neighborhood. The sidewalk, it's very large and it's just not giving to the human experience. But if we kind of look forward down, I think this development has done a better job at kind of creating that connection, better human experience, and they have lowered that retainment wall. the comments that were given in design review were the materials that were used for that wall. Carrie mentioned that she didn't want something ODOT-like when it comes to highways, and the applicants actually showed the materials that it's a type of ready wall and it's more naturalistic so that it looks more in context to what a more natural experience, including what the towpath has. They've added more landscaping strips as well as that. I think it was a good choice to remove a parking space and add landscaping there. So some of those comments were addressed, but otherwise there are no issues with this coming to this area. There was a comment to address that corner a little bit more with a preliminary comment from me. But otherwise, no other further comments. And for the record, we did receive Mr. Bradley's letter. Apologize, it was from October, so we didn't have that. We've received it, but had not put it in the Dropbox.
Can I have one comment about scale and context as well? So the photos that we saw on the earlier slide here along Fifth, that is this, that's what you see from Fifth, but I think the important context to remember is what happens along Jefferson. The units that are on the north side of that, we actually measured those. They're about 50 feet from grade at sidewalk to the top of the unit. Our units are 56 feet from grade to the top of the unit, and they're set 15 feet back from the edge of Jefferson. Units on the north side are right along the sidewalk. So I think that's an important thing to note about context and scale, and particularly with the conditional use. Our context really is that lower left-hand photo, and what's on the right-hand side of that. We don't put the presentation together, planning does, so these images can be as big as we want.
There
But
is a design review presentation if you would like to see the design review presentation.
so I guess I just want to make that important point about context and scale, that very similar context.
One comment we have again, the parallel parking that's adjacent to the existing residence along Fifth, is there any buffer happening there? It looks like you're just parking right up against that building. Is there any thought to at least giving some relief there? It seems like it's guest parking, seems like a weird place to put, I guess, parallel guest parking adjacent to that person's home.
So actually, the unique thing that happened here is we've been working very closely with all of our directly abutting neighbors. And they actually requested that. So we give a little bit of space for, we're gonna do like a shared license agreement with them. So if they have some extra parking, they can go ahead and use that. It probably will not be as used with this project. As example, parking down Jefferson is utilized, and we're also self-parked in the units. So that was really more for the neighbors of if someone wanted to use two homes to the left and the right of us, they wanted to utilize something, they'd be allowed to. And then if it's overkill, if they're not using it for the townhome project, we use that there too. So we've talked to them extensively about that, and that was a very large request there. So
The gentleman's comment about multiple trash bins and recycle, is there any thought to having combined receptacles?
So we went to PetBot, and it was their request that, it was the preference, I should say, of Public Works that we use the tote rolls. They did not want a dumpster that would, one, leave them not service that, we'd have to use private. That was one of the main comments. They preferred the tote rolls. A lot of townhome projects in this area use the tote rolls. They move them. A lot of the issues that the neighborhood sees with the tote rolls is just not having enforcement of that. And so this HOA will contemplate, you have to, you have set time frames when you set stuff out, you have to move them out. And it's really about managing the HOA. We have the management company lined up to do that, right? Can't police it perfectly, but if you get that consistently, people should not be leaving these out, for an extended period of time. So, and also too, we don't really feel it's appropriate for this area to put a large trash receptacle, and it just really doesn't fit the context. But yeah, we did work through that.
I think overall, you guys have improved what we saw before. Taking doesn't seem severe. I mean, I don't know how you saw leaving out that drive, because quite frankly, there are people who are respectful and there are people who get in their cars and zoom out. And you're not gonna, believe me, they're not gonna see anyone. What do you mean?
Speed table.
Pardon?
We're putting a speed table, it's on one plan.
Oh, okay.
Yep, so.
It forces you to slow down.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So I was trying to figure out
Yeah.
what type of traffic
Yeah,
comment
we have to.
you can introduce there.
Yep.
Okay, I missed that comment.
No, sorry about that.
Okay, thank you.
And one last thing to the applicant, but I think also to, Commissioner Fluker's comment about how these presentations come together. Whenever we see a grading plan, it's always helpful to show the proposed grading as opposed to like the existing. I feel like commonly like we see existing grading plans, so I can't understand what's actually happening here with the retaining walls, looking at the existing grading plan. It's not a make or break thing here, but it'd be great to see like how these things are actually functioning.
Yeah.
All right, we need a motion on conditional use first.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the conditional use permit as presented here today.
Second.
A motion and a second. Anyone else? Call the roll.
Fluker,
Yes.
Carey,
Yes.
Snowden,
Yes.
Slife,
Yes.
Motion carries. I also see that this is for schematic. Is that correct? Okay. So we'll need a motion on the design resolution.
Okay, I guess I'll make this one as well. I should drink more caffeine. Move to approve the presentation for the Near West Design Review. Item number 2024-016 Jefferson Townhomes as presented. For schematic design.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll.
Fluker,
Yes.
Carey,
Yes.
Snowden,
No.
Slife.
Yes.
Motion carried. So we'll see you back for final. We're gonna, my apologies, different, but we're gonna do very quickly. We have 4 mandatory referrals that are very quick. But Councilman Forensic is here and he has limited time, so we'd like to take the mandatory referral. There are 3 for Councilman Forensic, so we'll start there and we'll come back to the first one.
Yes.
So it's number 2 on your mandatory referral sheet. This is giving consent of the City of Cleveland to the Director of Transportation of the State of Ohio for resurfacing a portion of Villaview Road, authorizing the Director of Capital Projects to employ 1 or more professional consultants to do the design and improvement. So,
Madam Chair, we call the economic development one first, it's number 3.
okay, I'll go grab numbers. All right, so we're just gonna do the first one while we're in there.
No, that's number 3.
Although I'm sure we could probably do it with the council.
Number 3 is the economic
Oh,
development.
we'll do economic development first. All right, so this is mandatory referral 11702024. Authorizing the Director of Economic Development and the Commissioner of Purchase and Supply to enter into a purchase agreement with Asset Properties or its designee, authorizing the purchase of a property located at 15900 Lakeshore Boulevard.
Good morning. Thank you to the Director, Madam Chair, and Planning Commission for having me here today. My name is Natanya DeRider, and I'm a site specialist in the Department of Economic Development.
It's very slow. And then you're gonna go all the way till the end.
Okay, and as mentioned, I am here today to discuss the acquisition of 15900 Lakeshore Boulevard, which is a mandatory referral. All right, so ordinance 1170/2024 would authorize economic development and partnership with Councilman Forensic to strategically acquire 15900 Lakeshore Boulevard, which is the former Dave's Supermarket. And as you can see, the site is strategically placed near one of the largest natural assets in the neighborhood, which is the lakefront. You have the lakefront reservation, and additionally, you have the Metro Parks plus Western Reserve Land Conservancy redevelopment project of the former Euclid Beach Mobile Home Park. Also, it's worth noting that the site alone is 4.24 acres. However, directly adjacent to the site, there are 2 county land bank parcels, which could make this a 6-acre development site. And lastly, I wanted to point out that Humphrey Park and the Collinwood Recreation Center are also adjacent to the site. So a little bit of background here. The site is a former Dave's Market, which closed in April of 2022, leaving the neighborhood in a food desert. The current owner bought the property in September of 2022, but for various reasons was unable to move forward with the development. So, in partnership with Councilman Forensic, Economic Development thought this could be a great opportunity to acquire and hold this parcel in the industrial commercial land bank to prep it for redevelopment. And so we plan to RFP this site, but prioritize uses that would address the food desert. As I mentioned, this was Ordinance 1170/2024. And I just wanted to leave you with some images of the property. It really highlights that the 6-acre development could be, great with the waterfront so close, and a much needed food desert.
This is my first time here, Madam Chairman, with your new format here with your.
We miss you. Come back again.
I'm here to support the action, and ask for your support. This has been a great concern of our neighborhood, the abandonment of this building, which had been a key source of grocery, purchases in our community for a very, very long time. And it's sat there now for 2 years, becoming an eyesore. And I want to thank Director McNair and Jeff Epstein and the administration for their support on this. It's been indicated by the presentation. I have County Land Bank property to the west. We have to the north, our lakefront plan that is underway right now. The Cuba Beach connector. We have to the east the greater Collinwood Recreation Center. Then it's to the east of that we have the Benjamin Rose Paulo Land Center. So we have the critical mass of city facilities, public facilities, and then with our lakefront plan, we think this is the action we should be taking to secure this site. So again, I would ask for your support.
Madam Chair, if I may, I would also like to lend my strong support of this. This is an extremely strategic location, and we are supporting the rezoning process for which we have something drafted, and we'll be bringing it to the community and the announcement and before you soon. So that rezoning will support the redevelopment of this urbanist plan.
Hudson properties, are they local?
Yes. Yeah.
And it's a fair market value?
I would ask the Director there to see this here.
It is fair.
What's the purchase price out of curiosity?
Just under 1%.
What they acquired for?
Sorry.
What they acquired for?
The previous owners, I think they were planning to redevelop it and it just didn't move forward due to.
And the dollar amount?
The dollar amount that you.
1.35.
Okay.
This is the family that owns it, the parent company for Simon's Market.
So they were gonna open it. They were going to open it.
Well, if we gave them 6 million. And that wasn't gonna happen.
Right. Well, it's great. I mean, my opinion, it's strategic, as you said, great project. Just curious about people who are speculating.
That is good.
I'll move it.
I have a comment.
Okay. Well, it's a fair a second. Let me make a comment. See, there's a second.
I'll second.
Wait a second. Make your comment.
I was never short on words. I would like to think, first of all, I think this is a bad idea. But I think we need to be more global about this. I'm gonna challenge the administration to look at other sites throughout the city. Just near my house, near 82nd and Euclid, 2 Rite Aids closed. And I think we start really need to take a look at the entire city and see how many of these boxes occur, how we can leverage something similar to help spur on development by, get rid of food deserts, actually bring, alternative businesses to the table. So if we can use this as a model, that was wonderful.
So the administration is working with council. We have mapped all the vacant Rite Aids to be vacant Rite Aids, and there are several working groups, including public health, including economic development, planning, and several other departments, and we're coming up with a strategy to respond. So,
Thank you. That's all. You're ahead.
Oh, I mentioned it before, so
Yeah.
this is not the
All
first.
right, we have a motion and a second to call the roll.
Yep, Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yeah.
Sergeant,
Yes.
Slice.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Nice to see you. First time here. Are you new?
I'm relatively new to that.
Welcome to the city. Are you a director hire?
Oh, you can around.
All right, so we're gonna go back to number 2. This is ordinance 11452024, giving the consent of the city of Cleveland to the Director of Transportation, the state of Ohio, for the resurfacing of Bellevue Road. And Rick, are you here for this and for number 4?
Yes, I am.
There's a lot of stuff going on in your ward, Councilman.
Well, it ought to
That's
be.
great.
I've been doing it for years.
That's a good thing.
Go to the next slide then.
Okay.
One more. All right, good morning, everybody. Rick Sotowski, Managing Engineering Construction Division. We need authorization to give consent for ODOT performance work on Bellevue Road. That should be on its second. The title there. This road basically acts as a marginal road. Traffic coming from the freeway to residential neighborhood. It's about 1.6 miles in length. About 6 in length, 28 feet wide. There's typical no-till, pull off all the asphalt, concrete base along with just casting in place ADA ramps, probably create 13 feet. Next one, please. We received funding through the federal funds from the WACA, $3.5 million. You also have road and bridge funds, and it's about 80% from the WACA, 20% from the city. We should have this on the street to bid in April 2025, for construction May and finish by the end of the year. So with that, we ask your authorization to move forward with the project.
Bellevue is a key road. It runs parallel to I-90, connects a good portion of the streets in the North Shore Conduit neighborhood from north-south standpoint, and it's in terrible condition. And I regularly tell residents and the neighbor to make sure that they have false teeth, to make sure that they're glued in real well.
Motion.
Second.
2 seconds. We have a motion and a second. We'll give it to the council and a second. Call the roll.
Yes, Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
Sergeant,
Yes.
Slice.
Yes.
Motion carries. The third one, which is number 4, is 11762024. This is declaring the intent to vacate a portion of East 166th Street.
Right. Go to the slide, please. East 166th Street, this portion of it, it had a long history of being a dumping grounds for a number of people and really nice sort for councilmen and residents of the ward. It's a thing, Clary Wayside Road. The Vega Metals, the first it's all the properties in yellow roadway. They come in, there's abandoned buildings that they're gonna take down and construct items that they need for their business. So they're looking to close this down, locate it so that they have private access to from their building. So with that, we're asking for the vacation of the roadway, which will
clean it up, we won't have little dumpster there, we're gonna have a new business and so new tax base for the city with this situation.
The business owns the side of the street,
Yes.
so they get it all.
Madam Chair, I move to approve resolution 1176/2024 as presented.
Second.
Do you want to say anything?
It's, oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right. They're so excited.
You can see the street is, an old industrial area. It's been a problem for years, and we have this new company coming in from Lake County, investing in our community. And, I think this will help them greatly, employee parking, and will eliminate a constant problem with illegal dumping. So I urge you to support it. Thank you.
What was the kind of business again?
That was Zero Copper in the day, big copper operation.
And it will be, what do they do?
Bacon's a manufacturing company. I'm not really clear what they do, but they're taking the entire site and they're taking to the west, it used to be St. Clair Lumber. They're taking that entire property as well, and they're gonna level what's left of the buildings there.
Gonna create a lot of new jobs.
I don't know if it's gonna be, I don't believe it'll be over 50, but it's better than having none
Yeah.
that we have there now in an abandoned building.
Well, thank you. Great. With a motion and a second, call the roll.
So can you let me know who gave the motion?
August made it and the council, or no, you made the second, Drew made the second.
Okay, Drew makes it.
Drew.
Okay, thank you. All right, Fluger,
Yes.
Curry,
Yep.
Sergeant,
Yes.
Slide.
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay, that's all for you?
That's it.
Thank you.
very much.
All right, we're gonna go back and get back in order. Well, you keep asking a lot of questions. Otherwise, we keep moving. It's a joke.
Social commentary.
Social commentary. So we're going back to design review. And the first one that is next is Near West. This is 2024-024 Stanford Townhomes. This is final review. It's a construction of 6 new townhomes. Is Frank on from Greenlight Builders?
I am. Yes, sorry, I'm online today.
Okay, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and you shall answer to the penalty of perjury?
I do.
The Near West Design Review approved this with a one condition to consider a different frontage material for durability and possibly hardy board. So you can go fairly quickly, just because we have to move through, but if you could address that comment, since they gave you approval with a condition, not a suggestion. Thank you.
Yeah, and as to the comment, we accept the condition. We're planning to use hardy and hardy shingle where appropriate in place of vinyl.
Okay, then you can move pretty quickly through the.
Okay, so this project is located in kind of the heart of Old Brooklyn near the Pearl Road commercial corridor. This is a vacant site. It's been vacant for, I think, at least a decade or two. We're planning to construct 6 for-sale townhomes, all roughly just under 1,700 square feet. End units have 3 bedrooms, and middle units have 2 bedrooms with a flex space. They all have basements. You can go to the next slide. Just some views of the looking east towards Pearl Road, just the vacant structure. Next slide is showing the west view, I believe. And you can just keep cycling through these, showing the existing site. So vacant for a long time, currently cordoned off. We can get into the actual plans here. So site plan, these are all set back to match the neighbor's house to the west. Side setbacks, all 7 feet off the neighbor's properties. These have front porches, 6-foot front porches, rear access garages to accommodate 2-car garage. In the back, we have a little bit of extra space, so there's just some landscaping in the back. It's a little bit of open space. Go to the next slide. So here's the floor plans, all generally the same except for the middle units, which switch out bedroom to the back. The middle units have what you could use as an office. They all have basements as well to accommodate extra storage. The goal being these are more for people that want to stay in the neighborhood, raise a family, and need that extra storage. Elevations, so you can see front porches. The rear, there's a second floor deck off the rear of the unit to give some private outdoor space. Finish schedule. This is where we'll be making the change to fiber cement, likely hardy. Color schemes, and you'll see that in the next slide, the renderings. So the goal with the design was to complement the existing houses in the neighborhood, match the context, not go 3 stories, keep it at 2 stories to give it a feel of a existing, a 2-story development that's been there. I think there's just one more rendering. Nope, landscaping plan. So happy to talk through any questions, comments.
Thank you.
I'll just say Councilman Harsh was here, but I had to step out for a meeting, but he's very enthusiastic about this property.
That's those old Brooklyn CDC and design review. Thought it was great. Personally, it's a great project to add a diversity of housing to Old Brooklyn. It's a nice design, a nice job.
I actually have 2 observations. The first of which is, unless you have a Mini Cooper, you're not trying to navigate going in those 2-inch drive garage. It's going to be really tough.
I agree. I live it every day. Actually, I live in Ohio City, where I have a 15-foot space between my sharp right turn in my garage from my driveway. So it takes some practice, but this design gave us the ability to provide garages. You at least have the ability, but maintain a nice street presence without having massive.
Sorry for cutting you off.
No, go ahead.
The other observation, and I don't know how you're going to deal with this, but it's a homeowners association issue, is those big crickets. Obviously, if you draw a line to divide property ownership, it's just when you replace roofs, it becomes an issue. Believe me, I saw my neighbors go through warfare. So I just wanted to point that out. Again, I don't know how you resolve it with this particular gable, the way so just
it's an HOA issue that we're working through now, making sure that our process for that is as clear and conflict free as possible. I don't know that there's ever been an HOA that is fully conflict free, but we're aware of that. Because of the design, you're not able to just replace your flat roof by yourself and not have to contact your neighbor.
So you're switching to hardy. Are you going to do like the same treatment, but do hardy, or are you doing like flat square panels with bats?
No, I think the plan would just be hardy to keep the same look.
Okay. All right, commission members, this is for final approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll.
Fluker,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Sergeant,
Yes.
Slide,
Yes.
Motion carries. We have 2 postponements, which everyone will be happy about ahead of this. But we do need to postpone them. So the first one is Euclid Corridor, Woodland Avenue billboard project. Can I have a motion to postpone?
Second.
Motion and
Is that
second.
Sergeant?
Yep.
Yeah.
And Fluker was the second. Call the roll.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yep.
Sergeant,
Yes.
Slide,
Yes.
Motion carried. The second one is the motion to postpone 2782 East 75th Street billboard, a second billboard project. I have a motion to postpone.
Motion to postpone.
Second.
A motion and second. Call the roll.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yeah.
Sergeant,
Yes.
Slide,
Yes.
Motion carried. The next one's Design Review District. This is, Central Southeast. This is Sisters of Charity, Women's Religious Archive Center seeking schematic approval, 2940 East 22nd Street. I'm gonna need to swear everyone in. There were some conditions that I'm sure you'll address, but it's just schematic approval. There's one recusal.
And we can't hear the, we can't hear.
Do you have to recuse or can you abstain? Are you,
He's working on a project.
are you getting paid? Are they paying you?
Future in advance.
Are you paid?
Yes.
Yes.
Then you have.
We're current.
But we don't have.
We're current.
Are they paid? Right.
We're questioning.
The other option we can do is hear it and do something briefer at the next meeting. There's no one online, is there? Anyway, Erica could call in.
She had mentioned way in advance that she was.
Just for one. I know she's, I'm voting, but, maybe just see, hold on one second, let's see if we can get somebody online, because I'd hate for you to have been here the whole time. So let's go to the next one and we'll try to find, or maybe Denise, she was on vacation, right? Yeah. Just to try to get you, that's, I hate to make it, but if you have to come back, I promise we'll put you first. Just freaking out, because I feel horrible, but, all right. So then the next one, and we'll see what we can do, is Far West. This is a residential demolition 2023-28. This is at 4240 Rocky River Drive. This is the demolition of a residential structure. The Far West Design Review Committee voted to deny this demolition based on 3 criteria: the present and potential economic viability of the building, the degree to which the applicant proposes to salvage and facilitate or reuse the structure, the design quality and significance of the appropriateness of the proposed reuse. This is coming to us, so to my commission members, we do have the authority to hear this and to decide one way or the other, but unusual for us to overturn design review unless there is a strong case to do so. So, who's here to present this?
I am. My name's Becca McGlynn with C&J Contractors.
Okay, and you're representing the owner?
Yes.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth as you shall answer to the penalty of perjury?
Yes.
And the owner is not here to present? Or the
I don't. No, she's not here.
Okay. Go ahead and present it.
So it's 2 single-family homes and a garage for demolition at 4240 Rocky River Drive. You can go to the next slide. The owner did have an assessment done, a survey to see how much repairs would be for the front house, and the total was around $250,000. So she would rather demolish both homes and the garage to have some green space there. You can go to the next slide. The councilman did state that he thinks the demolition should proceed.
Is the councilman here? Is this the councilman?
You are the councilman.
Just check it.
Being silent on it.
You can go to the next slide. There is the site location. It's located on the west side of Cleveland, west side of Rocky River Drive. You can go to the next slide. Here are photos of the neighboring properties. You can go to the next slide. Some photos, exterior photos of the houses and the garage.
Garages are beautiful.
Some interior photos. You can go to the next slide. And the site plan, just demolish the structure, remove all the debris, the foundation. Level the site with clean backfill and topsoil, seed and straw.
What's the proposal? Or is there a
I think it's an
proposal?
green space. Is that the adjacent property gonna,
Will all of it green space?
yeah, like. Is it?
Maybe we could hear from the councilman.
And I think that Director Wong has, you wanna go first or?
I'm just stating the design review committee's comments. And this is just, you know, kind of reporting back what they said. So they did deny the demolitions for both because of the present and potential economic viability of the subject building. The committee felt that the front structure was salvageable based on economic conditions in the neighborhood. Secondly, the degree which applicant proposes to salvage, no salvage is proposed. And there's no viable partner or plan in its place. Design quality and significance of proposed reuse of the property, no future use intended or proposed. Denied, but Councilman's life has a different.
So I had some, I think, choice commentary on this last time when we postponed it, and I stand by those words, but I will off my commentary.
I wasn't
more
here, so
composed
can you?
way. So
But I didn't get to hear it.
And Ms. McGlynn, none of this is directed at you. The current property owner, I think it's a bit misleading to say that it was acquired in 2021 because it was acquired in 2021 because her husband passed away. It's been in the family since 1992, and the husband and wife are the owners of the Beachland Ballroom, among other ventures in town. Live on a cul-de-sac in Rocky River overlooking the Rock River Valley. I think that they have the financial means to not be slumlords in the city of Cleveland. And for some reason, they've allowed this property to deteriorate. It's to the point that I'm getting complaints from the brick home next door about rats and other vermin, about bugs coming out of the house. Someone was bitten by a bug and had to go to Fairview Hospital because of swelling from it. Like, this has become an absolute nuisance on Rock River Drive, and I'm appreciative of Design Review's stance that, and I kind of commend them for holding the line on what their charge is. I guess my disagreement is that at this stage, I'm not seeing a willingness from this property owner over a number of years to do anything other than be a negligent property owner. And people are suffering as a consequence. They've offered to their attorney reached out to me suggesting that if it were demolished as a proposed use, the city could acquire it as parkland. And I said, I don't want parkland. I want you to be not a negligent property owner. So it's very unfortunate that it's come to this case. And I think it's very frustrating that people who seem simultaneously invested in things in the city that will make them money to allow them to continue to live their lifestyle in Rocky River, yet simultaneously do things like this. So I think, I personally believe people like this, their reputation should be dragged through the mud. And that's what I'm attempting to do right now at Sarah Buck. However, given the greater good, I'm supportive of the demolition, just very frustrated by it.
So I think that the question is, long-term, if there's a demolition, do you see this being a site that if sold should have housing on it? Like, what's the, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a valuable property. It's a great area of the city.
Yeah,
Somebody
oh,
wants
it's,
to redevelop it.
it certainly could be.
It's like right by the Metro Park.
It's right by
Yeah,
the Metro Park.
it also backs up to the Rock River Valley, so it's a very deep lot. I mean, there is, a way to maybe do something even more dense than what's proposed right now. There's not really access into the valley because there's a ravine between, so you kind of see that street that does like a horseshoe. There's a ravine between here and there, so it's against the valley, but you can't, there's no like accessibility way to get from here like down towards the golf courses without spending a whole bunch of money, but it is very.
Is it zoned residential? And the reason I'm asking is basically where I'm going. It's like, is there some direction from this commission, if we approve the demolition, to say that there's a kind of a preference that might prevent some bad thing from happening here? If you want it to be open space. I mean, I think the question is like, what is the highest and best use or the preferred use? in allowing this demolition, and can we make it a condition of the demolition so that we prevent something that you don't want here? I mean, if we're gonna allow the demolition, we ought to care about what goes there, and we can do that.
Madam Chair, I think.
Oh, sorry.
Jan Leonard. So this part of Rocky River is a mix of residential and local retail. The West Park Animal Hospital that you see up there on the right-hand side of the screen did have a recent reinvestment and redevelopment, or new construction, I believe, actually at this site. So there is some investment moving up and down this various sections of Rocky River, but I definitely,
No residential though, right?
a mix of it is residential and some of the nodes are local retail,
How about
but
this parcel?
this specific parcel, I believe, is two.
I think it is, the zoning on Rock River Drive is rather chaotic. This is two family, immediately to the north is one family, immediately to the north of that is residence office, so there is sort of this mixed use, but there is, I think Rocky River Drive south of Lorraine really has potential to be a far more aesthetically pleasing version of what it currently is, and we're trying to figure out ways to get property owners to come along with what that vision is, mine and the development corporation. So, yeah, I think that a two-family or a small multifamily development could be pretty feasible, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, there's just a good mix along with setbacks.
This is sort of like, if you go to a little north of here, there's almost, the word that says Dante's Pizza is almost like, could be like there's like a sub-level downtown, like that's sort of the retail node. And then it gets a little more residential from like this point down to Pyramus.
Great site. Great.
Yeah, that was Judge Bianca's still around. We'd have a resolution here, but anyway. Huh?
You said who was it?
Judge Bianca.
Oh, yeah.
Housing court.
He's always creative.
What would be the solution?
He's been living in the house.
Yeah.
You would do that.
Yeah.
You would have to.
This is a public nuisance, sounds like. I was reading the criteria for demolition and I don't, you know, in my opinion, I don't think it meets that criteria to demolish. I understand the design review is coming from. Just one question, Councilman. Why, if she's willing to sell the property, why doesn't she sell it before detail? Why can't we?
She hasn't indicated, I don't know, she hasn't indicated a willingness to sell as much. That was the only one that I knew of was a willingness to donate to the city. So it bucks logic, to me. I apologize. So, thanks.
Well, I mean, I'm looking out for the public good in my professional opinion. You know, having raised a kid in the city of Cleveland and looking at the dilapidated structure, it poses a risk. So I think I would like to move to proceed with, have them proceed with demolition as presented.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Call the roll.
Fluger,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
Sergeant,
Yes.
Slide.
Yes.
Motion carries. Nothing's easy.
There is a second structure as well, so.
And yeah, and I will move approval of the second structure, which is in the rear that I think design review had no issue with.
Yeah, they approved the rear structure in the garage.
We have a motion.
Second.
Motion second. Call the roll.
Fluger,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
Sergeant,
Yes.
Slide.
Yes.
Motion carried. Did we find anyone?
Good news, Erica is
Awesome.
joining us.
You're a rock star.
So we do.
All right, so we are going to hear before you all in at once. Do you all swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, as you shall end with the penalty of perjury? Okay, this is, seeking schematic approval, 2940 East 22nd Street, as I said. You can, I won't read the conditions again, but just maybe, do you have them? Do you know what the conditions were from design review? I'll read them. To make sure that the level of landscaping design is within the owner's capacity to maintain. So this is for when you come for final. To further define the screening around the utilitarian areas at the back of the building, and to think about lighting and how this area will be lit. And those are things to come back with.
I'm Judy McGlinchey with Boston Design Partnership. We're going to have several people speaking today while we present this project, and I just wanted to clarify the title says Sisters of Charity. That property has transferred officially to Women's Religious Archive Collaborative, so that if you can discount that.
Yep.
And again, we are going for final approval, which you just read, not schematic approval. We've been through the regional Central Southeast twice and have taken their comments into consideration. So we will review that as we work through our presentation. So in general, we have a 31,000 square foot building, 2 stories. It is a center for preservation, research and reflection on the legacy of women's religious. We already stated it's at 2490 East 22nd. We have 30 parking spaces. We're B, business occupancy with storage, S1, and an accessory use of a multi-purpose room for assembly. So with that, I want to turn it over to Robert Bostwick.
I'll just be brief. I'm here representing the firm. I'm managing partner for Boston Design Partnership. I've worked on this project personally and invested with it. I've been privileged to work with the sisters who are pursuing this. And I'm here really because it's been so many years since I've been here in person and to see the commission.
We miss you too. We usually see you at the Cleveland Clinic.
That was virtual, but I'd expect what you guys do, and I'm really pleased to be able to hear your comments in person, and I look forward to it. Thank you.
Thanks.
And I'm Sister Susan Durkin, and I am a virtual sister and the executive director of the project. Just sure if you want to take a look at this. So storytelling, we know, is a very powerful vehicle, and it's how we learn, and it's how future generations will learn. The Ursuline Sisters were the first group of Catholic sisters here in the city of Cleveland in 1850. You cannot tell the story of Cleveland without including the story of Catholic sisters. The amount of impact we've had, beginning with, things like starting the education system, Catholic healthcare, being involved in the flu epidemic, Sister Henrietta during the Huff riots, creating job opportunity and looking at the Martin DePore Center, literacy, human trafficking, gun violence, you name it, Catholic sisters have been involved in this. And that story replicates itself all across the United States. But Catholic sisters are diminishing in number, and these stories are at risk of being lost. And their ability to inspire future generations for how to make their communities a better space is in danger of being lost with that. So we are creating a space where those stories can be told, where researchers can come. We're creating an education destination where school children, no matter what age level, will have a space to come and learn about, not just about creating a difference in the world, but also about women's history, which also gets lost. This is about women's leadership, about women's history, and about letting future generations not only understand these stories, but also learn about preserving history, the importance for future generations about that, for digitizing and for all these other services that we can provide. So that is the impetus for this project. We have communities from across the United States, over 40 of them now, that are bringing their collections here to this space to be told. So very excited about where we've chosen to build, because the Sisters of Charity of St. Augustine have ministered in that area since 1865. So it's not just about lifting up our stories, but it's about lifting up the story of Central, and it's about lifting up the story of the city. So thank you for your time today, and we look forward to sharing our plans.
Thank you, Sister Susan. This blue square rectangle shows you where the property is. This is part of the area adjacent to St. Vincent Charity Hospital, and it's right next door to Tribe C, the Jerry Jordan Center, and it's very visible from the freeway. So it's a great property right off of East 27th. You can see here, this shaded area shows the property area, and it is basically an abandoned parking lot at this time. Here we show what the original property looked like. The Women's Religious just kind of bought a piece of that, and it's the pure rectangle you're seeing there in the image. We've got several photos here showing the area. It's pretty flat. We just have a few feet difference in our site. We're right adjacent to the ramp, coming off of 14th and 22nd and off of Community College Boulevard. We have some more images that show you what the site looks like itself. There is city urbanscape along East 22nd, which we're going to maintain. And take a look at view number 2. When you are looking west from the site, there's an excellent view of the city skyline, which is something that we are highlighting in our design. This shows the property now with the extents of the parking lot that will be demolished, and the area to the north will also be working with the Sisters of Charity to demolish the building and clean up that site to the north, even though it is not on our property itself. We have a site plan that is very engaging. For arrival to the site, we have a island that we're adjusting on East 22nd. So you have an easy turn in and turn out. We'll have a drop off for visitors to be able to drop off right at the entry. We are creating on the north side of the building where you're seeing the heavy vegetation, a Zen garden. And from this garden, there'll be places to sit and look to the west, as we have said, to accommodate just to highlight the view of the city. Something that came up in our regional reviews, you'll see the transformer and the area, there's a generator and a transformer just to the left of the building. We had that oriented north and south, and it did block the view from the Zen garden, so we did take that directive and we turned it 90 degrees. So that if you're in the Zen garden or walking around the path into the building, you don't view the utility equipment. We have drainage we're incorporating. We have a bioretention pond that we're building to the west of the site, which will handle most of the drainage. And we are providing new trees wherever we do have to remove trees. And in general, we have another feature we're doing is permeable pavers. So the patterned area that you're seeing at the drop off, as well as around the Zen garden, will be permeable pavers. We're building in lighting that will help keep the building well lit at night, as well as parking lot lighting. This kind of shows the accent lighting and where it'd be located. We have a bike rack. We have seating, as we mentioned, in the Zen garden for respite. We're protecting as many trees as we can. And all the landscape materials that we are adding to the site are local, they're native, and easily maintained, because that was a concern with our previous design review.
I'm Percy Smith. I'm the project architect for Master Design. So here's the floor plan, as you see, of the first level. Did I do it? Okay. So the main entry is to the top of the building, as you see, where we allow a little bit of an inset that ties to the landscape plan where we have that large plaza. So it really draws you into the entry of the building. There's potential use of that plaza used for outdoor events. So really wanting to activate that and also have an immediate connection into the interior of the building as well. That brings you into the vestibule, which will be then a secure point of entry that the receptionist will allow you in from there. Which brings you into the lobby. The lobby is set up so that it provides absolute flexibility for hearing events, as well as visiting classes and outside visitors, visiting archivists. Beyond the receptionist is the exhibit space, again, wanting to display the stories of the women religious that is then connected to the multi-purpose room to the right. So the idea is this first sort of third of the building is a very public space, very connecting to the community. All of this will be transparent to the outdoors with an extensive use of glass. And then the center sort of quadrant of the building is the service kind of component. So all of our restrooms, vertical elevator, service support, And then towards the back is our actual archive storage. So about half the building will be used for archives. And then the top row is the supporting spaces that will be serving those archives. So allowing for intake of materials, processing it, and then digitization and conservation. And then we do have 2 stairs, one with connecting stair, which is in the top right. This is more visible and it's to activate that corner of the building since it's so highly visible from the street. And then we do have an egress stair to the top left. And then those double doors that you see on the left as well, that would be the intake connected to the surface drive, so for trucks to drop off the archive materials. Going up to the 2nd floor, again, that connecting stair brings you up to the 2nd level. You can see here, we do have an atrium space that's open to the floor below. Again, really wanting to create the space of enlightenment and really allow for great connection from both levels. Also, you start to see the plan here. We are still continuing that glass along the top and to the right to provide ultimate views into the building from the street to create a greater sense of connection. On this level, though, will be mainly office space. So we will be having open office, some private offices, and then a research room for visiting archivists when they want to come by and see materials that would be brought up to this level and taken to this room so they can see it in a secured space. So this also stacks on the floor below. So again, we're just carrying those service spaces above, directly above. We do have some conference rooms and then more archive space to the back. Some elevations. So you get to see here a little bit more clearly the extensive glass that we are using. So again, wanting to create a visual connection with the surrounding community, both on the north and east facade, since it is such a strong presence on the corner. The rest of the materials we'll be using is a brick masonry. It's an aristocrat linear, a long linear style brick. We wanted to use something that a little bit offers a sense of humility, but still a nice sort of raised linear element, just to tie nicely with the glass. We do have this sort of faceted approach at the corners. Again, this idea of like refracting light in a different way to sort of capture this essence of the varying stories of the Roman religious, and then it does uplift at the corner, as you see there. Again, just trying to engage the high presence in the street. We do have these bands that are carrying around the horizontal of the building. To do that, we are using both visual glass and spandrel glass. And then on the right in the brick masonry, we're using the same style brick, just a differing textures to offer a slight sort of differentiation. So this is the south facade and then the west facade. So because these are a little bit more hidden from the immediate visual impact from that intersection, we wanted to be more conscientious of our material you'll use here. We also wanted to make sure that the archive needed to be very contained. It does not need to be exposed to any light or any kind of exterior elements. So wanting to keep that entire portion be brick as well. So we did carry those bands all around the four sides of the building so that there's still that visual connection there. On the south facade, again, just because wanting to keep the water out of the archive, we are using external scuppers and downspouts. And so we wanted to use that language as a sort of a visual pattern on the back and break up those horizontal fonts in a meaningful way. For lighting, the glass will be lit up with ambient lighting throughout the night. So we'll offer a nice glow. It will never feel like a dark zone. And then on the south facade, we do have some very minimal exterior sconces towards the front of the building. So these are some visual images of the materials as I discussed. With the long linear air brick. Towards the lower left is the stone tile base that will be carried throughout the building underneath the glass. And then just we will be using a bird grit on the glass as well. So we'll be using a dot pattern, but we're thinking of doing it where it sort of creates a gradient from top to down, again, just to break all that glass and provide some textual sort of differentiation.
building sections here that shows you the height of the building. It's just over 31 feet. And then we do have, on the top, we have some roof mounted equipment that we will be screening with a perforated corrugated metal screen that will mimic the sort of the tongue of the mullions that we'll be using. So it'll still feel. And then some views. This is the view that you see coming off of that drop-off drive into the entry of the building. Really draws you in, and there's a slight overhang above, so it's a clear indicator of where to enter the building. Stopped. Okay. So this is the view from northwest looking southeast at the back corner. You see that sort of to the right, the screen of the ground mounted equipment. So that is no longer blocking the view of the Zen Garden. This is a direct view of the Zen Garden, and you see some of those light fixtures just to create some generous lighting of the site throughout.
So this is schematic approval. And obviously when you come back.
So I'm the planner for this
Oh, yeah.
area. My name is Kenya Gray. They've come through design review twice, first for conceptual, second for schematic.
This is final.
Yeah, so this is gonna be final. I put it down as schematic on accident. But they have a pretty comprehensive project here.
Anyway.
Oh.
But go ahead.
All right, that's what I want to say. It's coming for final. So
Yeah, I don't think there's any reason to make them come back. I would say though, from your perspective, the comments addressed in this presentation relative to there was sort of the landscape design, the screening you addressed, and lighting. What about lighting?
We do have general site lighting as well as parking lot lighting. And they were concerned about lighting on the south side of the building. And we have added, you can see there's some rectangular representations there that will also gently light that south side of the building. Again, worried about safety, making sure the whole building is well lit.
That's the moment of what.
yeah, so that they answered like the questions and suggestions that my committee had. So I think that sufficient for a final submission.
So we have a motion, we just need to note that this is final approval. Erica is on. Probably better if the motion comes from here now.
Okay. Are you entertaining comments, Madam
Yeah.
Chair? I'd like to thank you. This is a very nice design. It moves me out of sleep, but I think it's very, I have to say, this is how you present a project. I'm serious. It's clear. There's no ambiguity. Things are large. You understand what you got. I think the glass. I always applaud architects when you're more intentional about glass, right? When we're coming up, we didn't talk about it. We're like, okay, let's just put some new stuff. But I think this is what this project's about. It's about creating transparency, but also creating something that's grounded in quite frankly, the imagery and which what organization does. So I applaud you for that.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a comment as well. First of all, thank you for investing in this area, in this neighborhood for so many years, over 100 years, since 1865. I really believe this design will set an expectation and the tone for the neighborhood. We are working from the planning side of things on a larger planning and coordination in this area because there's so many institutional partners, so much potential here to reconnect Central to downtown and downtown to Central. And this is a project that will help do that because of its proximity to the East 22nd Street Bridge deck, its proximity to what will soon become more land, the former JDC site. And so, again, this really sets the tone for
I'm Tom Chama, with Gateway Consulting, and we're project managers for the project. Two things, Jared, that your statement prompted. One, this is one of 4 of these projects around the country. One in California, one in South Bend, Indiana, one in Boston, Massachusetts, and Cleveland, Ohio. So it is a relatively big deal. Secondly, directly to your comment, we are continue to work with the folks at the St. Vincent Health Center. They have the property next to us. We're talking with them about how that will work, where they may go and how we may do some things on an interim basis to actually activate in some way. And we continue, and we're in discussions with Tri-C, which is our next door neighbor, to make sure that we're working well with them. They have a relatively empty parking lot next to us. I've been past this property now for probably 40 times, and I don't think I've ever seen more than a dozen cars in the parking lot. So we see some opportunities to do some things with them as well. Just wanted to let you know that we're trying to deal with context here.
I'm just wondering, is there like a later phase of signage or something?
That's what I was
It's a very prominent location, especially if you're on the interstate, so I'm wondering if there's been a consideration for not just signage from East 22nd, but also kind of visibility from the wider area.
We do have, in this rendering, you can see a bit of a ground sign there. There will be a ground sign there. And Women's Religious is now working with Take Form to develop that signage. We do have a preliminary design for the front signage that we could forward to you, or
You could come back to
Yeah,
staff.
that comes,
Just go to
that
staff.
fits there. I just think it's, I appreciate the lighting, it's a very prominent location, and I bet a lot of people will be like, what's that? So, just draw attention to that.
we want to be careful with providing a sign that lets you know you're coming to the building. We want it to be lit, but we also want it to be as vandal-proof as possible.
I have to say, we wanted, again, just to sort of respect the design of the building and just the nature of what the center does. We refrained from doing any signage on the building and just had the design speak for the monumentality of it. And a monumental sign will be designed appropriately so that it will be very visible from the street, as well as for understanding what you're driving into.
I just wanted to point out, and I'm sure we're all familiar with the area, but over the last 10, 15 years, there's been a phenomenal amount of money invested. Tri-C, CNHA, and other partners. And it's created a nice little anchor there, in my personal opinion. It's truly a mixed-use area, if you think about it, with all your other institutional partners.
I hear you about let the building speak for itself, but not a use that everyone's going to go to. And if it's one of 4 in the country, I would want people to know that. It's your choice, not ours, but I mean, maybe there was like a roof mounted sign that was just in letter, something that said like how important it is. Cause it's gonna feel like another, even though it's absolutely stunning, right? Another Tri-C building, so another this building. It is amazing, right? So why not?
Well, I shouldn't speak for Sister Susan, but but I think there was a sense of humility that the sisters wanted to convey as well. And
I
think they were a little.
No, but I appreciate what you're saying, and I do think that makes sense. It draws people in, and we're creating so many collaborative partnerships with like institutions in the area and around the country, so. Yeah, you
But
want to
for me,
make it.
it's less about the partnerships and more about the celebration that you're investing this thing in Cleveland and it is here. And people who aren't going to come here know it because the people who come here don't need it. That's not what I'm worried about. I'm just worried about your investment of a ton of money. Like it could, like when I drive by here or I'm up on the freeway or whatever, I'm gonna be like, oh, that's in Cleveland, even if I never go there.
Dylan, have you ever been to Equal Justice Initiative, 3 sites in Montgomery, Alabama?
No, but you said it's not.
And I kind of like the minimalist approach behind that, because what they did on all these sites, they used the landscape and the surroundings to sort of tell the story about, each one of the venues. So when you walk up, there's sculptures, there's public spaces, I mean, you have a Zen garden. I kind of like that, but again, I guess that's for you all to decide how you want to celebrate who you are and what you stand for.
But that's like a destination. This could get lost. I'm just saying, like, this could be like lost as not in another institutional building. Like, I know you wanna, anyway, it's your choice.
But you have been there, so it's hard for you to have that opinion.
But people are going there for that.
Yeah, I know,
Here in
but-
Cleveland, like, who's gonna know, right? It's not like people are,
I don't know if I'm not sure if that's what they're looking for.
I know.
That's my point.
I'm glad
Well, we
this year, I
want
people
as
to
much, we
know.
want as much user presence. I mean, we had a meeting with educators from around the city this week. And they're very jazzed about having a space like this. So yes, as much traffic as we can get in is very important to us. You know, documentarians, researchers, I mean, there's just an amazing amount of people that want to share source material.
I'd add to that as someone with kids at parochial school, like, ability for field trips and things like that. And I know you mentioned humility, but the custom brick face reminded me of Boomers, which you could also go the other direction. I'm just saying, there's Catholic on the board.
All right, well, that's up to you. So just to clarify that, we're doing final
Yeah.
approval. And with the condition that whatever signage you do, ground mount or whatever, you don't have to come back here, you can go to staff, they can sign off on it. Unless you can't agree.
Or unless there's a variance.
Yeah,
All right, well, Madam Chair,
it doesn't sound like they're going large.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna-
you're fine.
I'm gonna move to approve, item number CSE 2024-018, Sisters of Charity Women's Religious Archive Center, as presented with the caveat that, it's for final approval and that they work with staff to develop a signage, really binding package.
Yeah.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and Erica is on. We're gonna take a quick vote. Go ahead. Call the roll.
Anthony.
Anthony?
Loser?
A reminder to press *6 to unmute.
Oh,
She's
you're gonna have
calling
to
you.
unmute.
Star
I see
six.
her.
Hi, can you all hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes, just say, we just need your.
Yes.
All right.
All right, Fluker,
Yeah.
Curry,
Yes.
Sergeant.
You.
You're accused.
Oh, okay, that's right. And Slight.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you, guys. This is amazing.
Thank you.
Very excited. How soon will you guys start?
March.
Oh, wow. So very, congratulations.
Thank you.
And you clearly have a very good partner in Mr. Rivera.
Yes, we do.
You know, like build everything from.
He is going to provide us with a wonderful guaranteed maximum price.
Patient. How'd that work out for us?
You have a good team.
Yeah. That was.
All right, take care.
Sorry, we have one public comment. We just need to public comment. It's on page 14. This is, 2024-033 further signage at 1250 Old River Road. They requested public comment. Can I have a motion to public comment?
Second.
Oh,
Second one in the bathroom.
Oops.
and then we really just have the first mandatory referral.
And
And the
administrative,
administrative.
but there's supposed to be a special presentation.
But we're not voting. Are we?
No.
So you can leave it. Okay. So, hold on. We're just waiting for a councilman when to the bathroom. So you can sit down.
It's a defense.
You can abstain.
You can abstain.
But, you know,
But abstaining means you can still participate. You can't. Yeah.
And so I asked like, if you're getting paid, that's.
No, yeah.
But like if like, sometimes if like, it's a nonprofit that we've done something, but we have nothing to do with the project, I can abstain, right? And I don't have to refuse, but it's like the financial basis.
This question, they got final.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just fully related. No, so they're gonna do work with staff.
I wasn't gonna ask this, but like, there was nothing about digitizing.
I think they mentioned that.
No, like, I mean.
The records,
Like
like-
technology room, digitizing, like the whole, like when I think about even like.
I'm not trying to get in their business, Bob.
I'm not either. All right, so we are just postponing, not even quick, on page 14, we have a motion from August to postpone the signage at 1250 Old River Road. They asked for it. We need a second. Did you get a
Second.
Second. All right, call the roll.
Okay, Fluker,
Yes.
Kirby,
Yes.
Sergeant,
Yes.
Slide.
Yes.
Motion carries. This is the first mandatory referral 11422024. This is authorizing the Director of Community Development to enter into development agreements with Bequest Builders or its designee. And this is for land that's located in the Glenville Circle North neighborhood. For these, this is two projects. These one or two?
One project.
You're here for no car, right?
No.
Oh, no.
I'm a Burton, but I'm not Burton.
Oh, you're a Burton car. Okay.
I am Burton.
All right, it's late today.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure we haven't seen each other in
Yeah.
about 6-7 years.
Yeah, I found it.
Little fat, little beard.
All right, so,
The arrow to the right. Sorry.
so go ahead. So this is in Glenville Circle North neighborhood. And this is for the, development agreement.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioner members. This piece actually is, there was a development agreement already in place for these parcels some years ago under the Oklahoma Transformation Initiative program. The developer or the company did not complete the homes. There were 26 homes that were meant to be built, single family, market rate homes to create this mixed-use neighborhood. So of the 26 homes, 6 were completed. And so we want to transfer the development agreement. We have canceled the development agreement with Ordain Company, and we want to transfer that development agreement to Bequest Builders. Anthony Burton, who was at the time with Ordain, has his own company, has joined forces with Michael Sarah to create Bequest Builders. And so the project timeline of this would be 5 homes a year once the development agreement is in place to complete the build out of the remaining 20 homes. So just to put some context to the area, the site plan is for the homes to be developed between Superior to the north, Wade Park to the south, East 105 to the west, and East 118 to the east. This map illustrates what was completed. The 3 blue ones on Lee Avenue are the 3 completed homes by Ordain Company. Anthony Burton completed the 3 in orange, which gives us 6 total. And then the remaining parcels in green are the parcels that we want to add to the development agreement for Bequest Builders. And then these are the actual parcels. And just as a map of those 20 parcels alone. So I'm joined by Anthony Burton here with Bequest Builders. And if you have any questions on the homes that are going to be developed, we can respond to that.
There'll be for sale.
For sale.
For sale, this kind of model like this.
Detached garages.
For sale, 2-car, detached garages, 3 bedrooms, 2.5 bedrooms.
You know, what's the target sales price maybe?
Target right now, based on a moving target, is about 332. If we continue to market as we have, which is with a finish and that on the rear, it goes to about 269. I mean, about 369.
369.
Okay. Thanks.
How soon do you think you'll start?
We've already started. We've never stopped.
Oh.
We've never stopped. The transition took place, what, a year ago, in a sense? So we've been working through the transition for approximately 365 days, but I've been marketing and selling ever since.
Oh, so are we just adding a few parcels?
Yeah, I'm sorry, 20, but really the purpose of the development agreement is to help the developer secure their financing for the project. So
That's helpful. I think you're not starting.
No.
This is like.
It's an ongoing process. And part of the reason of having to secure finance now is because of the administration change here in the city. So they took away our second mortgage dollars, which are no longer existing, which was a huge impact. So I go from marketing to one sort of buyer to a different buyer.
Right.
that was under the transformation initiative, where there was this now payment system that was CHA to help facilitate.
Y'all still realize tax abatement?
We still realize tax abatement, as long as it has been modified based on my last check, which maybe 30, 60 days ago, still 15-year tax abatement. Right. But I did hear some changes coming.
Right. But they're grandfathered in.
But we shouldn't.
If you haven't started, we should.
I don't know, I'm not.
We should be grandfathered in. I'm not 15-year tax abatement.
I'm not housing loans.
Okay, well, I trust you.
Great.
Madam Chair, motion to approve.
Second,
Motion and second, call the roll.
Lucas,
yes.
Perry,
Yes.
Zagin,
Yes.
Slade,
Yes.
Motion carried. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Good luck. We gotta come out and see, how many are built?
So there's 6 up right now.
Six up.
There's 6 up
Six
right now.
plus the 3 that Orleans did.
No, so 6 total. 3 already did,
And 3.
and then 3 I did.
Good.
So the part that Ms. Ray did not, he left out, was that I was the consultant manager of the project from
The
start.
first 3, got it.
From the conception of the project, I've been
Oh,
that
yeah.
guy.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
We have 3 easy administrative.
Good luck.
approvals.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Take a second, just look at that, we're on page 19, and we can make a motion for those, and then we can agree Mr. Fluker. You good?
Yes.
6 minutes to spare. Well, actually, we have to vote first.
Lie for the
Yeah.
presentation.
We're not voting on the next one, right? All right, do a motion on the administrative approvals.
Make a motion to approve. Administrative approval.
Second.
Motion and a second?
okay, Lucas,
Yes.
Perry,
Yeah.
Zagin,
Yes.
Slade,
Yes.
Motion carried. Now we have a special presentation, an economic incentive scorecard. Let's see that.
Okay.
How are you?
Hi, how are you?
I know, that's why I don't want to miss it.
No, gonna keep going.
Yeah, I'm trying to,
Kate, why don't you give us the introduction?
Yeah, sure. So, my name is Kate Warren. I'm a Special Assistant to the Chief of Integrated Development in the Mayor's Office. And over the last year and a half or so, we've been working with the consultant Baker Tilly to develop a community benefits scorecard. It's gone through a couple different iterations of naming, but we have landed on community benefits scorecard. Let's see. Will the clicker work?
I could advance your slides, it's actually funny.
Okay, I'm gonna try to walk through this really quickly and at a high level. So I'm gonna, you can just advance to the next slide. So really the purpose of the community benefits scorecard is threefold. One, it's to identify community benefits that exist in development projects and to inform future community benefit agreements. So this is coming out of the community benefits ordinance that was passed by City Council last year and is a tool that the administration is using to implement that ordinance. The second is to provide consistency in the process of applying for development incentives from the city. And the third is really for the city to communicate proactively our development priorities for investment and growth. Go to the next slide. A little about what the scorecard is and is not. It's really a tool to help identify community benefits. It eventually will be a tool to determine which projects are and are not eligible for incentives from the city. It will be a front door, create a common application to streamline the process of receiving incentives from the city. And it's a tool for the city to communicate our priorities to developers and determine how aligned our priorities are to those projects. And it's a tool that'll be revisited and iterated upon over time with market changes. What I'm sharing is not expected to be a technical, exhaustive document of anything that a developer could do to provide benefit to the city. And it is not intended to be an extra bureaucratic hurdle. Really, we want this to be a tool that provides a lot of clarity to developers upfront about what the city is looking to see in projects. Go to the next slide. A little bit about the process. So a developer, reaches out to the city to talk about a project, and they're going to be requesting incentives. Economic development, or in some cases, community development, depending on the incentive, will schedule a meeting with the appropriate staff to discuss that project. And then ED staff will share an application with the developer. Once the developer completes and submits that application, staff from both economic development and city planning will work together to score the project using the scorecard tool. And then they'll share that score with the developer and walk through the incentives that they are eligible for pending underwriting. And then at that point, we have a lot of information about the project that we can pass over to OEO, who will look at it and see which items in the scorecard, would make a good fit in the community benefits agreement, and continue working with the developer to negotiate that CBA. Go to the next slide. So the scorecard is primarily going to be used to evaluate projects for tax incentives such as TIFs, commercial tax abatements, and any loans or grants that are over $250,000 in value. And this is in alignment with the threshold that's set by the Community Benefits Ordinance. So we won't use it to evaluate smaller types of incentives that the city does, things like storefront renovation, small NREPs, other small loans or grants. And we won't use it to evaluate the job creation income tax credit projects if that's the only incentive that they are receiving. And so for now, we have an Excel-based application that developers will use to submit their information. We are working on an online application that will streamline the process. Go to the next slide. And actually, let's skip this slide. Next. Okay, so there are 4 types of projects that we evaluate in the scorecard: mixed-use projects, commercial industrial, which are larger commercial industrial projects, commercial neighborhood area, which might be smaller commercial projects sort of along a commercial corridor, and then residential projects. Go to the next slide. I'm going to walk through the mixed-use scorecard first. So this is an overview of the scorecard, and I did say I'm going to sort of fly through this presentation, so I'll walk through these quite quickly and at a high level. You can go to the next slide. Projects can earn points in a number of categories. One, they can earn points just based on the total project cost and capital investment in the neighborhood. Next slide. There's a lot on this slide, but essentially we are awarding points for projects that are providing public infrastructure that goes above and beyond the things that they are required to provide and add value for the community. So that could be things like public amenities, it could be things like green infrastructure, and it could be things like consolidating utility lines, using Cleveland Public Power, additive adjacent roadway improvements, things like that. Go to the next slide. Projects can earn points for creating permanent jobs, depending on the number of jobs they're creating. And then they can earn additional points if those jobs are considered high quality. So they can earn points if the jobs are at or above median household income, and then even more points if those jobs are at or above living wage, which is just a higher threshold. And all of those jobs would be required to provide benefits as well. Next slide. Projects earn points based on their TOD score, Transit Oriented Development Score. So this is a tool that city planning created that sort of combines the projects that are located near high frequency public transit with the 15-minute city index. And so it's really about how close those projects are to existing amenities and public transit access in the neighborhood. Go to the next slide. This is just a view of the map of that app. So the more orange areas are higher scoring areas, and the more blue areas are lesser scoring areas. Next slide. Projects can earn points if the developer is an MBE or an FBE, and even more points if that MBE or FBE developer has a majority stake in the project. The only category where projects can earn negative points is if they have a history of non-compliance with MBE, FBE, and CSB both. They can earn up to negative 5 points on their project. Next slide. If properties are blighted, so if they have earned a C, D, or an F on our citywide property survey, they can earn some points for redeveloping blighted properties. And they can also earn points for reusing existing buildings, particularly if those buildings are vacant, and slightly less points if they're doing adaptive reuse of a building that is perhaps not vacant. We can go to the next slide. Projects can earn points depending on the lenders that they're working with. So if they're working with a lender that has a affidavit of intent with the city of Cleveland, this would be like a CRI agreement, they can earn 2 points. And if they're working with a lender from outside of the region, thereby sort of diversifying the available capital in the city, they can earn 2 points as well. And then for projects that are located in middle and opportunity neighborhoods, they can earn points, because those neighborhoods have seen less development in recent decades, and we want to incentivize more development throughout the city. Go to the next point. Projects earn points if they're going through brownfield, phase 2 environmental site assessment, VAP, covenant not to sue. Essentially, if they're doing brownfield remediation, those projects earn points. If they are using publicly owned property, so this could be city land bank property, it could also include things like CMSD sites, RTA sites, other publicly owned property, and they're taking that vacant property and putting it into productive reuse. We want to award that depending on the total acreage that they are using. Go to the next slide. If projects are in alignment with neighborhood plans, essentially, if it's a project that the community needs and wants and has identified in the citywide plan or neighborhood plan that it's something they want, they can earn points for that. And for mixed use projects, if they're along a commercial corridor, if they're right on a commercial corridor, they earn points for that. Again, incentivizing that development sort of where we want to see it in alignment with where other commercial and mixed use development is. You can go to the next slide. Projects earn points for affordable housing. So we really, believe that there are different affordability needs in different neighborhoods. And so we've sort of set these points to incentivize that. So for market neighborhoods, for example, they need more very affordable housing. And so they earn the most points for that. And for middle and opportunity neighborhoods, maybe the only new housing they have seen is very affordable housing and they need more workforce housing. And so we're awarding more points for that. You can go to the next slide so you can see the opportunity neighborhood. I know I'm talking through these very fast. You can go to the next slide. And then projects can earn points for sustainability, both sustainable design and construction methods. And then on the next slide, sort of committing to ongoing building performance management that, reduces the energy and water consumption of the building. And these are the types of things that really would go well in a community benefits agreement because we want to monitor the ongoing compliance. We'll go to the next slide. Projects can earn points if they are creating opportunities for community ownership of property in the neighborhood, things like real estate investment trusts, land trusts, or opportunities for direct resident investment in projects. And so they can provide information about how that sort of fits into their capital stack, and we can award up to 7 points for that. And then we have this bucket for other community benefits. We know this is not exhaustive, and people will come to us and say, like, the community asked us for childcare to go along with this big commercial development project, and we're providing that. That's obviously a great community benefit that sort of doesn't fit neatly in the scorecard, but we want to leave room to reward them for that. You can go to the next slide. And so then the commercial and industrial scorecard, you can kind of just flip through, has one additional category, this target industry category. So we're awarding points for businesses that are identified as being in one of Cleveland's target industries, which you can see on the slide. And then commercial neighborhood areas are, again, those sort of smaller format commercial projects. I'm not walking through each of the categories for all these because there's a lot of overlap. And then for residential projects, again, like we've taken out the job creation things and things like that. So it's just a different overall scorecard, but the categories are largely the same. You can go to the next slide. The one thing I want to say is as we're rolling this out, we're rolling it out in sort of a testing period, which is we're using the first 6 to 12 months to collect data on projects that are coming into the city. We have been going through this process of trying to look at past projects and see how they would score to sort of set a threshold for eligibility for incentives. And what we found is we just didn't have all the information to assess the projects that came in the past on these on these categories, and so we didn't feel like we had enough data to make that decision. So we're using, the first period of time that we're collecting these new projects to analyze the data, and we'll use that to inform a future threshold for eligibility for city incentives.
That's a question.
Yeah.
Just ideas. So I love this. I love how it's positive, first of all, that like, someone kind of gonna look at this and say like, what are the things I can do? Can't do everything right. Yeah. So it's kind of a positive approach. It's not either a carrot either, but it's just sort of like a way to look at sort of how you might get prioritized, even if you start thinking about how much subsidy, right? The two thoughts I have is, one is on, I don't know where it would fit, it might be under the one that you had for LEED or green building or something. So I'm just thinking, for me, it's like some of the pain points I've seen over the years. And one of them is around the like when there are large site redevelopment, especially for more commercial or industrial uses. And there's an opportunity for people to think about stormwater and land preservation and even sometimes recreational access through a large site. Thinking of a couple of sites, kind of on the one that was kind of on the west side where they wanted to go right up to the river, didn't care that we wanted a riparian zone, wouldn't let access on the river, right? Like things like that where you have the opportunity to incent, especially if it's a large site that is going to have a lot of leftover land around public access or stormwater preservation.
Xavier, can you scroll back to the value-added infrastructure slide? It was pretty close to the beginning. So there's a lot on this slide, but I think what you're mentioning would really fall into the value-added infrastructure category. So we would provide points for projects that are providing, for example, connections to other trails and they have trails on their property. We would provide points for green infrastructure projects if they're doing things to reduce stormwater runoff. So that sort of falls into that larger bucket.
And so this is going to contradict what I said before about it being positive. I do think, even though it's positive, I do think you ought to think about a list of non-negotiables. Of, there are a few things that if people do them, you will absolutely not put subsidy in.
Do you have ideas?
Yeah, I do. Like, these are all pain points, like, on the river, refusing to put a boardwalk and building right into the riverfront. Right? There are some like really things like I can think of that it's almost like, if you're doing X, we're not, I'd have to spend some time thinking about it, but I do think it's important while you're being positive to say to people, to give people and to give you some parameters of, this allows you actually to say, no, it protects the city, because you have everybody wants subsidy, right? But for people to clearly know up front that you can say no to a few of these like non-negotiables. And it'll help you down the line. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And I think that's one of the values of having city planning staff involved sort of early in the decision of these incentives. Like city planning staff will be helping this for the projects because they can identify things like that on the site plan that are like, suggestions that we want to make sure that we give to the developer at an early stage. I think sometimes the problem is by the time they get to city planning commission, projects are fairly baked and they want to try to avoid making those adjustments. And so if we can,
like, you might score really well on this, but you demolish a historic building for parking. Yeah. I can make up a few, right?
Yeah.
But these things are like non-negotiables, right? Yeah. The last one is, I love that you have the community wealth building one on there. The other pain point I have is, and so I don't know if there's a way to think about this, is it's not so much that people put mechanisms in to think about land trusts and things, but the thought I've had over the years about this is that cities across America, not just the city of Cleveland, dump a tremendous amount of subsidy to attract a company. There's nothing sticky about it. In 3 or 4 or 5 years, they can just sell the company, take all the subsidy and run, and you have to start over, right? Is there any stickiness that could be alongside that wealth building one, which is also are people willing to do things that allow you to recapture subsidy if they leave early? Or if they, like, I just feel like I've seen it so many times, and you basically like, I can name a couple of projects that have had 3 versions of subsidy since I've been on this commission. Same thing, right? It's like over and over again, right? So is there a stickiness to that that allows this, not necessarily, it could be recapture, or it could be, you know, I mean, a land trust will do it, right? Because the value stays and someone else can come in, right? But is there a way to, because not everyone's gonna use that mechanism, right? So is there another thing to think about? I don't have the answer. That allows you to say like, of course, if they say 10 years or something, but if someone leaves after a short period of time after you've helped them relocate them and they just make a ton of money, are they willing to have some recapture subsidy itself?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think the way to have that stickiness is through the community benefits agreement that will have clauses about clawbacks and things like that. And so I think it's something we'll need to think through with OEO in terms of how to structure that. There's always this tension in the CBAs about, you know, we want to have clawbacks that are significant enough that paying a fee is not just the cost of doing business. And at the same time, there's that tension of not wanting to put so many stipulations in the agreement that the project can't get financing. So we have to sort of walk that tight line, but I think it's a great point about thinking about their sort of long-term investment in the site and how we think about that in terms of this. Yeah.
I mean, another way to do it would be to think about you go back to the Welsh building one, would be to score this one higher and to score it in a way that would sort of like, not just score it higher, but make it eligible for deeper levels of subsidy. I mean, if we're really after, and to me, like the idea of I'm more interested actually in commercial land trust than I am housing land trust, because the commercial land trust idea gets you at this thing of like, if the operator moves on, you still have that for another business, right? It just doesn't get sold for whatever. So, but like, is there a way to say like, is 7 points enough? Is it a combination of like 30 points? So someone might look at it differently, like why it's weighted the same, but isn't it the most important thing, right? So that it becomes so valuable that people might say, hey, if I want to get to the top, I think about it, right? It's really hard to do, you know, and no one's gonna, you know, so either it gets more subsidy if you do it, or you score higher. It's just, for me, it's not enough, because it's the one we all really want, right?
I think that's a great point. I will say when we first did this, there were even fewer points for this category, and that was some of the feedback that we received. And I think the most points available for any one category is 10 in the scorecard. So I think you make a great point, and we could consider, like I said, we're doing this testing period. We're gonna see what comes in, and we're gonna make tweaks. So all of that feedback is really valuable.
I mean, it would send a huge message that it was the only one that was more than 10.
Yeah.
Or that it was, and it's those kind of messages that are gonna drive people down the line, especially if you guys it works and you do it and you go through the pilot and then you adhere to it.
Yeah.
People respond, right? Yeah. They will. So anyway, I love it. I'm glad you guys did the work. It's so great. I think it's very comprehensive. I think it'll be really interesting. I'd love to see if you come back with, after you score 6 months of projects, right?
Yeah.
I want to see the whole range, right?
Yeah.
And I think you guys have to be honest about the ones that you cut the deals because you had to, but they didn't even come close, right? Like we've got to see them all, right?
Yeah.
And it'll be really interesting. So, and then how do you do something like this where it just doesn't become something that people just do because you ask them to do it and you don't actually use it? Like that's the other part, is like, how are you guys going to put this into practice? But it's meaningful. Like it's just not like, oh, well, they filled it out and no one looks at it and like, what, we got to get this project done because politically we have to. And then you just, you know, how do you institutionalize that? And lastly, how do you do this so that it's just not another layer? But I mean, I want Cleveland to be the most investable place on the planet, and I want it to be most customer friendly, right? And I want people to know that if they come here, we're gonna hold their hand and we're gonna want them to know that they're wanted here. And this is a great thing, but people also have to go through a lot of stuff, so it can't be that either.
Yeah, and we're working really hard on that process for the departments to try to streamline so that we're collecting everything that we need at one point in time and being able to work across departments so that projects aren't needing to download their information 10 times to 10 different people.
Yeah. I also like that it's rigorous. Someone wants incentives. That's different than someone just trying to get it permanent, right? They want
Yes.
incentives, so they should be willing to throw something in.
And in this case, over $250,000.
Yeah, so significant, right? Anyway, thank you. That's enough.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments.
When will we see you back?
I'm happy to come back when we're at that evaluating any changes.
I would love to see
Yeah,
it.
6 to 12 months. Yeah.
Is this been your project?
I have shepherded this project.
Yeah.
Many.
Great work. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
Thanks,
That's
everyone.
great. I think that's it. Anything for director before we?
No, happy Halloween. You're welcome to come with your cubicle costumes and put your vote in for the best cubicle.
Yeah.
It's a very busy week, so I don't have much to share with you these weeks.
All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you.
You are battle here and